With 6.2 million subscribers, Quackity is one of the most successful creators in the gaming space. He's collaborated with huge names like Mr. Beast, KSI, and at one point was a member of the Dream SMP. Since his days there, several high-profile names have faced major cancellations. Wilbur Soot's career was basically ruined because of allegations by his ex-girlfriend Shelby Shovel, while George Not Found had to fight tooth and nail against allegations of SA by a small streamer named Katybugs. And all of this is fresh off the heels of the provably false allegations directed towards Dream. Now, Quackity is on the chopping block, as is his massively successful Minecraft server. The QSMP is a project of Quackity, being the first ever multilingual Minecraft survival multiplayer server with live translation. Quackity speaks both English and Spanish, meaning he's been able to communicate with a much wider audience than the average creator. But for the longest time, these audiences have been split by their language barrier. This server aimed to bridge the gap, but as the project grew in size, it also expanded its scope to live translation of Brazilian Portuguese, French, Korean, and German. It hosts English-speaking creators like Bad Boy Halo, Iron Mouse, and Fit MC, Korean creators like Aga, French creators like Kometo, and a long list of others from around the world. With how complicated it is, it shouldn't be a surprise that the QSMP has been in the works for years. And when the server was announced, Quackity posted something very ominous. A reminder that I seriously do not care for people who try to discredit my work. I know I've done so much for both my communities and will continue to do so because I enjoy it. So who was trying to discredit him? On March 8th, 2023, Dream and Quackity took part in Spreen's Heaven or Hell event. It was a big show that got a lot of viewers, but this is also their last known public interaction, and it happened the same day Dream pitched the concept of United SMP in private. United SMP was to be a multilingual server with live translation, essentially the same project but run by a different massive creator. On March 10th, Quackity announced the QSMP to much fanfare. Anyone else just extremely proud of Quackity, knowing how he wanted to make Spanish content for years? Finally doing it and getting so far is just amazing. So happy for him. That same day, Dream went live on his alt talking about his very similar project, but said he didn't know anything about the QSMP.
I'm working on a project as well that should be fairly soon that I started a bit ago. It's not, I mean, when I said it's similar, it's like, you'll know why I tweeted what I tweeted whenever you see it, but at the same time, it's not at all like, as far as I know, it's not at all like Quackity's thing.
During this, Dream also said that he won't vote for Quackity at the Streamer Awards, as another creator named Foolish treats it like an actual job, implying Quackity is undeserving. However, he still acknowledges Quackity is probably going to win.
If I had to pick one, my instinct would instantly be, oh, Foolish, just because he streams so much and he treats it like an actual job. He gets up and he clocks in and clocks out and streams all this ton of time. But then Tubbo is also kind of like that, recently at least, but Quackity's gonna win. So congratulations, Quackity.
Quackity won for best Minecraft streamer, and around the same time, he retweeted that prior tweet saying he doesn't care for people who discredit his work. Stans were able to put the pieces together and speculated that he was talking about Dream here. Why wouldn't he be? He felt he deserved the award and worked very hard for what he had, and then this other massively popular guy was on live stream saying he thought someone else deserved to win. His ego was hurt. The Quackity versus Dream Stan battle begins. It's been a thing for a while now. Quackity Stan shitting on Dream and Dream Team and celebrating that they aren't friends anymore. Look at the quote retweets on George's reply to Quackity from the Streamer Awards. A little over a week later, the QSMP officially launched and creators began playing on it.
Do you have a girlfriend?
Would that be a problem?
No, really.
While people were having fun on the server, Dream did not make an appearance. Why wouldn't Quackity invite the most famous Minecraft YouTuber of the last few years to his biggest project yet? Fans of both of them drew their own conclusions on Reddit. Not that they can't be friends behind the scenes still, but they were pretty close before, so the change is noticeable when he's regularly interacting with Bad Boy Halo and didn't even respond to George about his meetups with bad or skeppy tweets. And George had a stream a while ago where he mentioned that Quackity hadn't even confirmed he would be at TwitchCon to him despite attending, and that Q seemed to turn down George wanting to go to Mexico with him. Trouble was brewing behind the scenes. It was at this point Quackity shifted the scope of the server from just Spanish and English to the rest of the languages so he could get an even broader audience. And just 5 days later, Dream announced his new mod for USMP, which would translate whatever you're saying in voice chat to the native speaker's language and text above their head, allowing anyone to have a conversation with each other in game.
Oh, それは知らなかった。
La traducción ha dicho que te has comprado un sostén.
Everyone noticed the similarities between the two servers. Dream responded saying he didn't have any animosity for Quackity. Obviously, the server can coexist with QSMP. Only a few people out of 60 will cross over between the two. Without Quackity, I don't think that any of this would have happened anyway. Dream's translation mod was advertised on YouTube on April 2nd, and on April 3rd, the QLobal translator was announced. It was the QSMP's very similar software, advertised as the first of its kind, and quickly adopted by all of the players on his SMP. Meanwhile, Dream fans claim to be receiving increasing hostilities from Spanish-speaking Quackity fans, upset at Dream trying to steal their favorite creator's thunder. When will they send a hired assassin? I think we should go to Florida and burn down his house. If we all raise money together, we can hire one with efficient and immediate work. I have 2 uncles in Florida that are down for it, although I'm scared if something happens to them, but I can't wait to send someone to beat that fat man. Maybe we could use your uncles as mediators and have them contact someone. The stands perceive these threats as pretty serious, especially given that Spanish-speaking fans were hosting Twitter spaces where they allegedly doxed Dream live. We don't have 100% proof this happened in this call, but considering stands and other people were doxing Dream constantly when his face reveal happened, it wouldn't shock me. The 2 servers running concurrently caused a lot of confusion for audiences. Why would 2 huge creators in the same space run 2 servers with the same basic gimmick? When Quackity advertised his server on his Twitter, Mr. Beast himself seemed confused as to if they were the same thing or 2 separate projects. Dream chimed in, "It's a different one. QSMP released as a Spanish and English server. I announced my live translator mod a day or so before QSMP shared theirs, and they happen to have similar good ideas. Mine will be public. Awesome to see the language barrier broken down in so many ways." It seemed like Mr. Beast was stoking the flames of this conflict, as when Dream posted something unrelated to any of this, Mr. Beast asked if he would be paying Quackity or Twitch. A day later, Dream said jokingly he wanted to kickbox Quackity for a live event, saying it was going to happen one day later on Saturday the 8th of April. Many fans asked if it was over the 2 competing servers. Whether Dream and Quackity fight, the online community will have the opportunity to watch other creators step into the boxing ring this month. Following the success of Creator Clash in May 2022, the highly anticipated event is set to return for its 2nd installment. Yeah, that went really well.
We lost $250,000 on the event.
That kickboxing match never happened, but shortly after, Dream finally addressed public tensions around the 2 servers being run concurrently. For any of you confused about the drama, Quackity and I worked on the same thing accidentally and kept it private like most projects, and they accidentally clashed with each other because of it. I have absolutely no hard feelings towards Quackity and love him to death. So it was all fine, right? Dream loved Quackity, and they were on good terms. On April 26th of 2023, the QSMP had its official global announcement for even more languages, and everyone expressed a lot of excitement. They were introducing Japanese and Turkish. Yay. Oh my god, yay! Now we can recreate global conflicts and political tensions, but with niche micro e-celebrities. Can't wait to see Tiananmen Square, but in Minecraft. At the same time, Dream finally gave in and addressed the obvious tension behind the scenes, saying that Quackity had ignored his messages. He was mocked pretty harshly for this, as the entire thing felt like him complaining like an ex-girlfriend who didn't get her messages answered. I personally probably would not make a post about how a creator ghosted me, but to each their own if you want to be the jilted ex-girlfriend Dream. However, he also addressed something more serious than Quackity ignoring his messages. I have seen more threats, doxing, fights, slander, and hate between a bunch of fan bases than I've seen in a very long time. I personally have experienced an elevated level of in-real-life threats and stalkers, and even had the police involved in somebody showing up at my house and even putting trackers on my family vehicles surrounding this drama for the first time since pre-face reveal. Dream believed the mounting tensions between fan bases was causing this increase in toxicity. Nobody cared. The original thread Dream made ended up getting ratioed, comparing his response to Quackity to his original response to the grooming allegations. However, Dream went on to share proof that he apparently came up with the idea for a multilingual server before Quackity did. He showed a message conversation where he said, "United SMP is like the United Nations, a handful of people from each language where new people are added. Proximity chat with a custom mod that puts translated subtitles above your head so you'll see live captions of different languages." This is from March 8th of 2023, and people in the replies were quick to claim that Quackity had been working on his for years, therefore it was his idea. A whiteboard from the time showing that Dream had been planning this also seemingly suggests he planned to invite Quackity to his server as one of the Spanish-speaking players. 2 days after Dream made this long post about Quackity, all of the Dream-related emotes were removed from Quackity's Twitch chat. And on May 8th of 2023, Philza made fun of Dream and the entire United SMP project while talking to Tommy Innit.
How are you?
Tom, I could blow this wide open. Dude, there's extra context to that tweet that I could say right now. Do you want to go there?
Things got a little more intense when Tommy released If YouTubers Were Honest, where he satirized a lot of his peers. He specifically devoted a section of it to the tensions between the 2 servers and painted Dream as a man-child.
Yes, it's done! A Minecraft server to combine multiple communities, my communities together, and bring the world together. This is an amazing idea!
Hey, I don't like that idea. It's actually my idea, not yours.
That doesn't... Okay, that's fine. We can both do it, I guess.
Stop ignoring me.
What?
Stop ignoring me.
This caused some fans to criticize Tommy, saying he had sold out Dream, his former friend, in exchange for taking part in this other project, which at the time was being more favored by fans. He was defended by his supporters. I get that people are mad at Tommy specifically for how he portrayed the SMP drama, but I don't get how some people have turned this into some headcanon where he sold out in order to get a spot in QSMP, or wanted to cater to Dream haters for views. The two haven't made content together or hung out in a long time, and Tommy is surrounded by people who don't particularly like Dream. I'm not here to argue on Tommy's video. All I'm saying is that there are plenty of valid reasons that he could grow to dislike Dream within this time frame, many of which wouldn't be severe enough to require some public exposing, as many of you imply. It's clear there were tensions going on behind the scenes between all of these creators. Some had distanced themselves from Dream based on the gooning allegations, others had personal gripes and pushed themselves away. Meanwhile, Quackity felt disrespected by Dream, and that one of his biggest personal projects was having some of its thunder stolen. But for the time being, all of this didn't seem to affect the mainstream perception of the QSMP. If anything, it was more of a joke to those on the inside, at least not until some more serious allegations hit. Fast forward one entire year. The QSMP had seemingly been a massive success, and every creator who played on it from the English-speaking side of things seemingly loved the time they spent on it. But on March 3rd, 2024, several volunteers of the QSMP spoke out about the working conditions on the server. According to a 22-year-old French moderator named Leah, she started working on the QSMP as a volunteer. Then she became an employee, making roughly $183 a month. So not very much and really barely an employee. However, she said that server managers needed her to be consistently available to pick up various types of work, including voicing multiple characters in the SMP streams, designing art, and helping write the server's storylines. The QSMP is more than just a server. It has an entire timeline of events that play into a greater tale, and viewers can watch along to speculate as to the next storyline. She was asked to be helping with this storyline when apparently it wasn't laid out in her initial set of responsibilities. They requested far more of her than she was initially required to do, and according to her, many others were afraid to speak out against mistreatment due to threat of legal action. Everyone had signed non-disclosure agreements. Why would you need an NDA when you're moderating a Minecraft server? In the tweets, Leah said the QSMP fired her 2 weeks prior. She said it was because it got leaked on stream that she spoke to YouTuber A. Pierre. Pierre is a French member of the QSMP. According to QSMP policies, moderators are forbidden from talking to streamers, and A. Pierre confirmed in a tweet that they did talk, and it was apparently his fault that this leak happened. A lot of us admins are so eager to work for our favorite content creators that we weren't seeing the problems. Over the next week, after the QSMP fired Leah, other moderators would start to come forward with their own stories. Another French mod, iBob, said on Twitter that moderators were purely volunteers. He said they did the work of community managers for free. He also confirmed that the organization asked admins not to talk to each other or the top creators. Noah wrote in Portuguese that the QSMP did not pay him for translating threads and editing clips. He alleged the organization eventually fired him after being unable to keep up with the workload, showing Discord screenshots of his termination notice. Fans were outraged. Imagine having the first Minecraft multilingual server of the world and paying your employees 150 euros per month and threatening to sue them if they dare complain. Quackity fired up an urgent stream to keep everyone updated on what was happening. He said that he was made aware volunteers were not being paid and given too many hours of activity. He had the understanding that there was a process volunteers would go through to eventually be onboarded to a fully paid position. What he was not aware of was what the volunteers were being required to do. This made it clear to him he needed to be more involved in the administrative part of the QSMP, and he was sorry it happened this way.
From here on out, I want to make one thing clear. Everybody involved in Quackity Studios will be paid. And if at any point my own funds are not sufficient enough to pay workers or maintain the project, then the QSMP cannot continue and it will close down. That's how committed I am to this project.
While all of this was going on, Quackity had also been delivered another problem. One of the QSMP members, Wilbur Soot, had just been accused of abuse by an ex-girlfriend. His reputation was subsequently destroyed and every single creator dropped him publicly.
Wilbur is no longer part of the QSMP.
But this wasn't enough. The story was out and people were going to talk about it. QSMP was trending on Twitter with 75,000 posts on March 4th alone. Mostly people criticizing Quackity and the server as a whole. But it was quickly made clear that Leah hadn't been entirely truthful about her time working for Quackity Studios. A French admin named Jay would respond saying she had lied about most of her claims and was actually fired for a number of reasons she tried desperately to hide. You've misconstrued a lot of situations that were privately spoken to you about and have lied to the studio, your peers, and to content creators. You started creating a very toxic environment and began spreading lies about the studio to your peers. You were sending private messages to other people on the server and citing them to turn against the studio for vindictive reasons personal to you. When it was leaked that you were speaking with other content creators off the server, which again is not the sole reason for removal, we started an investigation to make sure that the rules were being followed. We discovered that you were actively breaking rules, which you yourself acknowledged this. When we confronted you about breaking these rules, you started to fabricate lies about other members of the studio of the same rules you were breaking, stating that there were others in the studio that were not being punished for breaking the same rules you broke. We found out you were covering for your peers that were making heinous claims with the excuse that it was through private DMs. You privately told somebody from the studio that one of your peers claimed they were not accepted into the actor role because they, quote, administrators did not trust the QSMP content creators enough not to groom her. And then they showed a screenshot of Leah implying just that. This is a very serious accusation to make. It is completely untrue and it's disgusting, deplorable, and completely unprofessional. You made the claim that you created a lot of artwork for the team, and yet you were paid $0 for them. You failed to mention that the artwork was never directly requested from you. This is entirely unnecessary for us to do because we have a fully paid design team prepared to do artwork and designs for the project. If you had asked to pay for this, we would have gladly remunerated you for your work. Yet you directly asked for these commissions and never clarified to any of the administrative staff team that you wanted to be paid. You were not forced to make art or designs. It was never part of your activities. They then showed multiple screenshots of Leah directly asking to do the artwork for free. Furthermore, you claim that you were scolded for not being available for long periods of time, and that is completely untrue. Anytime you would mention you didn't have time, you were told that it was entirely okay. And Jay had screenshots to back this up too. Jay then elaborates on why non-disclosure agreements were a part of the QSMP. He says at first there were no need for contracts, so they didn't even require them. However, this all changed when they caught members of the studio selling private and custom paid QSMP assets and code to other Minecraft studios and server owners. Some members were even caught selling contact info of the team members, sending Discord screenshots of their organization, and leaking conversations between multiple developers and the administrative team. In addition to this, some actors that we had at the start of the server were not prepared to deal with such a role. They would use this position to try and create personal relationships with the content creators. They would share their Discord passwords with their friends so their friends could play with the creators on the QSMP. This was incredibly serious, and at no point did we want to put any content creators of the QSMP at risk. These streamers felt uncomfortable with the volunteers trying to be more personal with them when they were hired to fill professional roles to make the server more interesting. As a result, the team began requiring contracts to make guidelines more clear and prevent volunteers from selling server assets and information to the outside. Jay goes on to explain the onboarding process for the QSMP. That being said, you initially applied through Twitter to be a voluntary helper with the QSMP project. It was made very clear in our public forums that this position would be voluntary. As a matter of fact, 90% of our current team started off as voluntary members of our studio and had been promoted to full-on paying jobs. After they're on the team, we have supervisors constantly checking in on their activities, performance, asking questions about their position and how they feel. If the administrators agree, we ask the user if they'd be interested in a higher position that is remunerated like a full-time job. Once again, the NDAs are not made to silence anyone from sharing their experiences. It is, however, there to protect the confidentiality in which this project is run. Currently, you're hosting a Q&A sharing all the information about the organization on matters you're not even involved in. You're sharing false information on structure, organization, and even lore. This is precisely the information that was being sold to other people that made us create NDAs in the first place. Jay ended his response by saying that it's clear that even though Leah had misinterpreted what happened with her time at Quackity Studios, there were some serious issues from others that needed to be addressed and would be. Quackity, meanwhile, stated that Jay's post exposing Leah had been made without his approval and it was subsequently wiped from the internet. Regardless, it definitely casts a lot of doubt on Leah's credibility, but bad actors within the movement would soon be the least of his problems. Passion Fruit, a publication that wrote an article about this situation, reached out to Leah, who then directed them to Solidaires Informatique, a French labor union of IT workers, including those in the video game space. A rep of the organization said in an email that the union had been in contact with Leah and some other QSMP voluntary workers for a few days. They claimed that Leah was working full-time hours, which is about 35 hours a week. According to French law, we claim Leah should have a classic employment contract with minimum salary and all French social rights. This same union then made a public notice calling for testimonies regarding working conditions on the QSMP, claiming admins are working under degraded conditions that amount to disguised labor. Remember that French YouTuber I mentioned? Well, he updated his Discord server saying that Quackity planned to find a way to financially support everybody. Volunteers are really risky, especially with foreign labor laws that he's unaware of. Therefore, all actors in the game would be on hold. The leaks from Leah had presented another problem. Quackity didn't want to communicate with team members for fear of potential leaks, which could then be twisted and made public. As a result, he planned to restructure the entire Quackity Studios operation from the top down. It seemed like things were finally going to turn around for the server. With some restructuring, it could be up and running within a few months. comments. But of course, it wouldn't be a Minecraft story without... Enter Roscripts, who supposedly goes by the real name Adrian, a Roblox YouTuber with 50,000 subscribers, and allegedly Quackity's brother.
This is me. This is Roscripts. The question here is, do I look like Quackity's brother?
He infrequently posted to YouTube from 2013 to 2018, but suddenly stopped posting. The comments on every video were turned off. In April of 2024, rumors began to circulate that the secret owner of QSMP was actually Adrian. An account on Twitter claimed that his account was still active in the Quackity's Kitchen Discord server, which is public and has over 26,000 members. But why would this even be a problem? I mean, it's just his brother, why can't he be on the server? On September 29th of 2020, a Twitter user named Meko made a series of claims about Roscripts. They said that at the time of these alleged interactions, they were 11 and 12 years old, but online were lying, saying they were 13 or 14. They joined the QHQ server in mid to late 2018, where they would occasionally joke around with Roscripts in the Discord. After a few weeks, he started talking to her much more and even joined a group chat with her and her several teenage friends. After they moved on to voice calling privately, he would begin to make jokingly sexual comments to her on a one-on-one basis. They got the impression he was trying to move the conversation towards more risky territory, which is when she began to tell her friends outside of the group chat, as well as the moderators of the server, and Axel, a longtime online friend of Quackity, who had collaborated with him many times. They claim to not have any screenshots of these interactions because they suffered a number of panic attacks regarding all of it. Now, with no evidence, you'd think this would die where it started. It did not. An account called Donald's Guy, a former editor for Quackity and an admin in his Discord server, came out with what he had. He claimed that as of 2021, Adrian was 25, meaning in 2017 he would have been 21. He showed messages of Roscripts allegedly calling a 16-year-old a little girl over and over, talking about her age in a pretty weird way. This editor then provides an audio clip from March of 2018 of Roscripts being confronted by a server moderator for creating a not safe for work channel that minors were allowed into.
This is something that can be legally used against adults, okay? I'm not comfortable with this. This is not okay.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Look, I understand what you're saying, and I get what you're trying to say right now, and I get your point. But I mean, dude, dude, it's not that big of a deal, okay? It's just gonna be a temporary channel for just literally like what, 30 minutes?
Being an admin in the Quackity server, it was known and discussed how Roscripts would befriend people quite a bit younger than him. However, many times after arguments, the situation would be swept under the rug and forgotten. Most of the time, Roscripts would be playing Roblox or something with these people who he came close to and had a lot of inappropriate messages with. I'm sure many people who have been close to him in the last few years know what I'm talking about. Another server member came forward claiming they were in the Discord and called him a total creep. To make things more interesting, Axel himself made a tweet longer about the situation. Roscripts and I have basically never been on good terms, and neither was the rest of the staff. I was never exactly sure why we had problems at the start, but they quickly developed as we all tried to work on the server together. At a certain point, it led to a lot of us quitting our positions in the server because Roscripts at one point was temporarily installed as the owner of the server and wanted to establish a not safe for work channel. A lot of us felt this was completely inappropriate, with the server having a lot of very young people. Roscripts was very persistent on this. That, combined with the fact that all of us felt very uncomfortable with a lot of Roscripts activity on the server, led to a lot of us making it known that we would refuse to work on the server as long as Roscripts played a part in it. This led to Alex talking to Roscripts, with the conclusion being that he would remain as admin, but would stop being active in the server. I've not spoken to Roscripts since then, besides a very brief hello when I met their family in passing in 2019. Considering a lot of what has surfaced today happened in the same year as the events I described prior, 2018, I should have pushed even harder and had him completely removed from the server. I was way too passive in a position of power. Axel, meanwhile, is seemingly no longer friends with the Quackity, although the reason is unknown.
There is one question that is recurring currently, and all I can really say about that is it's I think it's kind of obvious. I think we all kind of know what the answer to that is, and that's kind of that.
These allegations gained traction in July of 2021, but quickly died down. Fans expressed dismay that Quackity's burgeoning career could be knocked down a few pegs because of the actions of his sibling, but with Quackity being criticized over unpaid moderators, it all began to resurface. I want to make it clear everything I'm about to say here is alleged, and the evidence presented by some of his fans is honestly pretty unconvincing, but fans began to speculate if Roscripts had any involvement in the QSMP. One thing that was never addressed by Jay day was Leah's accusation that Adrian was one of the real owners of the QSMP. She described a mysterious account whose identity couldn't be accounted for that was active in day-to-day operations, Quid. She found it weird that he had never spoken on voice chat, had no social links, and had no internet identity outside of this role. She claimed that the account she was paid with on PayPal was linked to a Skype account under the name of Adrian. With the name Quid in mind, people dug further. A screenshot from the QSMP website showed a user by the same name who was also active in the Discord server. Users on Reddit speculated about who this guy was, making note that he'd been active since around 2 months before the first thread about the old Roscripts alias was made on Twitter. They then found a Jitters profile under the name of QuidB8, which is also located in Los Angeles, which is apparently where Quackity lives. The Twitter account for Quid only follows accounts related to the QSMP, and seemingly has only been marketed to Spanish speakers given the fact that all of the replies to its one tweet are in Spanish. In an interview, Leah stated further that she had no idea who Quid was. She claims this person never talks in calls, never says anything, and nobody knows their name. However, her best guess seemed to align with audience suspicions. Quackity has worked with some very suspicious people in the past, and that's not someone, you can't allow someone whose identity nobody can know and isn't safe at the head of your project. This post was made on April 8th, 2024, at the same time that many were complaining about a perceived inconsistency from Quackity about his involvement in the project. To this day, Quackity has never directly spoken about his brother or what happened to him, which to an extent is something that's tough to ask for. The question from fans is if this Quid person is also Roscripts. Once again, keep in mind all of this evidence is circumstantial, and if it is true, it would be a huge blunder to even have this guy involved in the project, considering the family-friendly brand Quackity has. It's a major risk. On April 10th, Quackity fired up a stream saying that the QSMP would not be closing down. However, he would be taking a step back from running the server. He said that people were openly posting his docs on Twitter, which felt like a major violation of his privacy. While in the United States, it's accepted that this is off limits, in Spanish-speaking countries, his info is being distributed widely. He apparently had received emails with death threats and people claiming to be close to his location, saying they're going to hurt him. As a result, he would be stepping away from being the face of the project. He then said he prefers to keep disagreements and conflicts private because he believes it to be professional.
Since QSMP began though, this definitely has resonated badly with people who had never seen my content before and had no idea who I was before the QSMP. So a lot of people have interpreted my privateness as being shady or not being transparent. The reality is, this is how I've been all my life. I've even had internet friends in the past get angry at me for not being as open as they were, but in reality, that's just how I consider things should be handled, because there's never been anything more important to me in my career than the distinction between my personal life and my work life.
Regarding the situation with unpaid moderators, he says that he was aware of it prior to it going public and ready to deal with it before it was made public regardless. He also seems to address the allegation that his brother was a part of this entire thing, saying that he has no involvement whatsoever.
I want to clarify a recent accusation that was made, which was the involvement in the project of someone that has nothing to do with it. That is not true, and I want to make that clear. Please be careful with the information that you choose to believe or choose to openly spread. Please be aware of where it comes from or what intentions it might be with. The reality is, these matters are being handled by the appropriate authorities, not with a tweet longer or with 10 streams of me talking about it. So I apologize if moving forward I don't say much about this, but it's because I can't. It's not excuses, it's not ignoring it. I literally can't. They're already being handled, like I said, by the appropriate authorities, so I cannot say anything. So moving forward, I hope you guys can understand that part.
There's no direct evidence that Quackity's brother had anything to do with the server, so it's for the best that everyone takes Quackity at his word. But this response didn't stop fans on the Dream Was Taken 2 subreddit from making long posts alleging shady business practices. They claim that the winners of random Twitter giveaways and the Las Nevadas quest have also struggled to receive their prizes, providing screenshots of anonymous Twitter users claiming they didn't receive their merch. They claim Quackity is complicit in worker abuse and once again speculate on if Quackity's brother is the true owner of the server. Meanwhile, the French Union claims to still be looking into the server, saying, "In the last few days, we've seen an outpouring of hate towards several former Quackity Studios workers. Some people have received thousands of death threats, offensive messages with sexist or other sexual connotations, and explicit messages targeting them and their relatives. This harassment has been widely magnified by the latest Quackity stream and intentionally forwarded by several Quackity Studio staff members. Some content creators have also, with varying degrees of intent, contributed to forward this harassment. Therefore, we enjoin content creators to explicitly, clearly, and promptly encourage their communities to halt this harassment and to apologize publicly." It's impossible to hold Quackity responsible for everything his audience does. With 6 million subscribers, there's bound to be a few crazy ones, but it's clear that this union believes Quackity Studios mistreated its volunteers and they intend to investigate it to the fullest extent they can. They also said all attempts to contact Quackity have failed. No attempt, either through us directly, in public, or in private, has so far been made. paid. Dismissed workers are still without explanation, and suspended employees have been excluded from all channels of communication for several months, still without information on whether and when they are to be reinstated. Quackity was riding high for years, and the QSMP was his most ambitious project yet, but with the complexity of his server came miscommunications, which led his fans to dig into his past to find any wrongdoing they could. It seems opening the channels between international audiences in an effort to increase communication ultimately came unraveled due to a lack of it from the top down in his studio structure. And now that the box is open, he's gonna have a hard time closing it. He's in a very tough spot, and whatever happens, it's clear he won't come out the other side of this the same creator he was before his Minecraft server nightmare. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.